Franklin Delano Roosevelt once said, "No one can deprive the American citizens of the right to vote. The only person who can do that is the American citizens themselves. And the only way they can do that is by not voting." Sadly, this is true every single day because our youth vote is on a steady decline. And by youth, I mean 18 to 29. Last year, when it came time to vote for the governor, me and my wife hopped in our car, drove down to the polls, and were ready to vote. We assumed that there would be a line out of the door with 18 to 29-year-olds. Only reason is because we were on social media and saw everybody talking about how horrible Governor Jindal did and how we've got to get a new guy in office, and anywhere from potholes in the street to education budget, everyone had talk about the issues that we were being voted on. And as soon as we got to the polls, we looked to the left, looked to the right, looked to the front, looked to the back. Not one person between the ages of 18 and 29. Everyone there, ages 45 and up. And it confused me. How can we say that we want change and not actually do the one thing that can actually change something? You ask anybody about mass incarceration. You ask anybody about gay marriage. You ask anybody about the education budget. They will tell you exactly how they feel at length. They will bring a friend along, and that friend will affirm their point. They'll show a social media post. But when it comes time to actually voting, they don't vote. As soon as we got done with that election, less than 6 months later, the governor then votes to cut the education budget. Now that doesn't affect the people that's 45 and up. That affects the people that's 18 to 29. Because these are people who are trying to get their education, who are trying to go to college, who need TOPS so that they can pay for it. If they don't get that education, they won't get the jobs they need. Therefore, unemployment will go down. Therefore, poverty will go down. We cannot be just about all talk. If they're going to be talking about things that are going to affect our future, our voice needs to be heard. If you want an example, in Beacon, New York, it's not a city, it's a state, I know that. In Beacon, New York, there was an arcade recently that was shut down. That arcade was not shut down because it was selling drugs to youth. It wasn't shut down because it was some money laundering scheme. It was shut down because it was selling pinball. Pinball is actually illegal in Beacon, New York City. Do you know why? Because over 50 years ago, people voted because pinball seemed to be a nuisance and it might be run by the mafia. So they actually voted that it would be illegal. So now here we are, 60 years later, and people still can't play pinball. Now it wasn't the youth that voted for that, because I'm pretty sure the youth knew pinball wasn't a horrible thing that was going to destroy our nation. But that disconnect that was there between pinball is still there now between things that our youth use, like social media, like Twitter, like Facebook, like streaming services. Just last week, federal government voted that password sharing between friends, if you want to share your Netflix password with your friend just so he can watch a movie, is now illegal. It is against the law. Why? Because some judge thought it was the same thing as if someone quits their job and gives all the passwords to the computers at their old job. He thought it was the same thing. He got completely confused. So now, if I want to watch HBO Go at my parents' house, I can't because it's illegal. This proves the disconnect, and this proves why we need to vote, because these are issues that we're dealing with. Education budget was the issues that we're dealing with. If you're mad about police brutality, the police officials are elected officials. The sheriff is an elected official. The police chiefs are elected officials. So if you have a problem with it, you can go to the polls and vote these people out. If a rapist gets off with a slap on the wrist and you didn't vote that year, you let that rapist off with that slap on the wrist. If an innocent man goes to prison or a guilty man gets off, then that's you. You did that by your silence. Martin Luther King said, "It is not going to be the voices of our enemies that we remember, but the silence of our friends." So it is very important that we not be silent anymore. We have to have a voice. We don't need your hashtags. We don't need your posts. We need your actual voice. We need you out there in the polls, and we need you to make that change.